What's up, Rockstars? Today I'm going over everything that just launched this week so you guys know exactly what's available right now that's brand new for you. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members for their financial support. It is through them that this channel is possible. If you appreciate the videos I make every single week and you give even $1 a month, there is a link down in the description below. Thank you so very much. Also, kind of a little shout out to Into the AM. I'm wearing one of my older shirts. I've washed this about just as much. As you can see, it's like falling apart. Like it's all falling everywhere. There's like a hole here. It's messy. I'm staying at home though. I still like the shirt. It looks cool. But Into the AM, that's some quality stuff. That's always linked down below. Let's dive into this. Atlas Lost: Rise of the New Sovereigns. This launched on Monday, which is kind of an odd. Normally it's Tuesday's the unspoken day of releases. Maybe even a Thursday if you're weird. But on Monday, that's like serial killer weird territory, but I don't think that's what this is going on here. This is actually from a team in Japan called Tactical Games. They only launched one other campaign before this, and it was canceled. By the way, if you appreciate the research that goes into these videos, trust me, it's been hours before I even turned on the camera. Go ahead and at least leave the like button. I do appreciate it. Certainly helps out. This is kind of an interesting game, though. First of all, it's pretty. Like, it's definitely pretty. That is for sure. And it is already funded. Technically, the funding was $10,668. That's a transfer probably from yen, but still it's kind of an odd number anyway. Right now they're at 55,658 from over half a thousand backers, which is pretty cool for just launching and being really low on the radar here. And especially the Japan thing. So English and Japanese is kind of what you're getting here. First of all, it's a pretty game. That is for sure. So some of the interesting things that happen. One of the cool things is, so it's a normal kind of, I guess, kind of like a Euro competitive sort of kind of game. You're not even really doing like worker placement per se, but doing like some engine building and stuff like that, right? You see these three aspects, one's like military, one's religion, one's, technology, stuff like that. There's actually 5, and then you pick 3 out of that. So you might play a game that doesn't have any military thing at all, or you might have one that has military and technology, or military and religion, or, like you can kind of combine all those things, which it's always fun to mix those last 2 together. I know it's one of our favorite pastimes as a species, but it's also fairly cheap, which is nice too. So the standard pledge is $65. Again, that is kind of translated from yen, but around there. And then $89 for the complete pledge that comes with the expansion plus another mini expansion. I'll talk about those briefly. And they have a group pledge. So that's it. It's very straightforward in what you're doing here, right? So it's all of the like kind of painted meeple stuff right now. One of the nice things, and you'll see it, is they have like these like little tank mech things that you can like slot them into. It's kind of nifty. Anyway, you got religion tokens and then some, those big, the cylinder posts to track your different stuff. This looks dual layer, which looks kind of nice. And double layer boards for those, and the game boards and various other stuff like this. These tech tiles can go onto various areas, and typically underneath like the little things, you'll see that. And then just a whole lot of token slots and areas to do different things. And then a bunch of cards, all black core, very high quality from the get-go, which is nice for a budget game, right? But as you can see, 30 of each kind. So you have science, culture, economy, religion, and military. And then you have kind of some starter cards. So that's what you're going through there. And then a few other things. So they've already unlocked like additional tech tiles. They've already unlocked a solo version. So they do have an automata system that makes things go and kind of does neat combo stuff with that. Here's the expansion. It's called The Lost Nation. It's a narrative game that comes with 3 campaigns, each with 5 missions each. And how you do in there, you gain like campaign points, but it also changes kind of the next thing forward. So maybe it'll have a special rule in this one, and this one is all military focused, and this one's that. So you're kind of going through that. One of the cool things it does, though, besides the fact that look at that hardcover book of rules, which is very kind of fancy. Like that's fancy, though it looks really wide. I don't know. And of course you get wooden tokens for the religion tokens and stuff like that. So some nice upgrades and whatnot. But one of the cool things here is this second mode here. This second, actually it should still, I believe, be that one. And maybe it's further down, but essentially you get these modules that are added to it, but we'll get to that, I'm sure. So let's see. We got the special advanced team. That's the thing we're talking about. See how they can like slide in there and kind of send them out, which is kind of cool. And then some game boards to match that. So as you can see, stretch goals are coming through. They do have the complete pledge exclusive stuff, which I don't really like. However, at least it's not attached to some $400 thing. The complete pledge is $90. So it's still cheaper than a base game you would normally get. So it almost goes without saying, you may as well get that. Like seriously, unless it's really hard on money, it just seems like it's worth it to me. Just to get more stuff. And then they have a few other ways of getting stuff. And maybe I missed it here, but there's essentially some modules. Yeah, right here. So here's a campaign overview. And I don't know why they don't say it there, but it unlocks essentially new ways of playing the game for special modules. Not only do you unlock those as you play the campaign, but then afterwards, or if you don't want to play the campaign, that's fine too, you can slot that in to further accentuate the game, so you can have it do different things that's more unique by having a different module in there. So not only do you have the technologies and which ones are available, but then you have the module on top of that, which is kind of neat. I think that's cool. It makes you adapt. It's a very pretty game. Shipping's fairly cheap. Nothing in Japan, which is kind of cool. I don't know if that means it's locally sourced or if that means that they are only paying for the dispatch and it's really cheap because it's local, because it's all going to Japan there, or I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the thing is there, because I know some companies, especially indie ones, like to check like everything themselves. Not sure either way. It's a good deal there, but it's cheap otherwise. It looks like, honestly, a quite neat game. Like I would play this and then play like Dune Imperium in the same day and probably have a lot of fun. I think that looks cool. So that's the first one. Next we have Forsaken. This has been the kind of like, it's been talked about a lot. That being said, I'm not seeing a lot of traction here. It's doing okay by all means. It just launched at the time of recording, so it'll be interesting to see in the future. You guys let me know how off I am on any of this. 115,000 raised, so it just funded after the 90,000, but it can they could put 10,000, doesn't matter. 763 backers, so almost at 1,000 backers. Probably get that day one, I would say. You know, based off the rate. You know, Europe needs to wake up and stuff like that, but it's kind of odd, and so I'll kind of talk through it, because I did look into this a lot more, because I know I've kind of only talked about Forsaken at a very surface level, because it gives me kind of like table anxiety because of how sprawled out and big it is. It's definitely a table hog. But right off the bat, you know, so I'm looking at this and I see this quote by Rado saying the storytelling and world building in this game is second to none. Second to none means that it is the best. So this has the best storytelling and world building of any game ever that Rado has ever played or heard of or known. Which is a very, very strong statement when I have Oathsworn behind me that was written by New York Times bestselling authors and narrated by professional actors in Hollywood and all sorts of other stuff. So like that's a very, very strong statement, and one you can toss aside. It's obviously not true. That is an exaggeration, to put it lightly, to put it kindly, I guess. You could make some other words up for that. Everything else seems great. You know, Jeremy says, hey, they hit it mark big time. People are really enjoying it, and I'm sure Rado did as well. I just don't buy that whole this is the best story in any game ever. Especially because of the second one. He also said it blows the socks off, or it's better than, you'll probably see when I scroll, I'm not going to direct quote it, better than Gloomhaven though, which is kind of a joke because Gloomhaven is like the meme of board games where you play for the card play and not the story. You forget why you're even doing anything because the story sucks. So hey, it passed that bar. Maybe that means it's the second to none. It's the best ever. So how does that work, right? It's a sandbox game, right? And you have 3 different worlds. Those are the little circles. You have the main world and then the 2 smaller ones, and you're moving around and doing your stuff. And one of the things you can do is you have essentially like your own personal story. It comes with 4 story cards. So it's not like a huge sprawling thing. It's 4 story cards. But those are kind of direct different things. And then you can also play your character as a class instead of a story. Not every class though. Each character can only be certain classes. And those classes have unique stories. So there's a little bit of replayability and stuff there. They also only have 4 story cards. So it's nothing like major and massive there, but it is there. It's more of a Kingdom Death monster style storytelling where it's unique in what you do in the game state and kind of what you're going through, as opposed to like some like Aeon Trespass Odyssey sprawling narrative with 300,000 words where you're going and, you know, even in the prelude of Aeon Trespass Odyssey, you could end it by being at war with the quest giver instead of taking his quest. So like that is like branching story, right? So it's not at that level. It's more of a kind of, this is my unique story in this game session, because there's also a lot of like encounters you can do. So let's look at those encounters a little bit. So this is actually an example here. It says like it's a huge spoiler warning. There's nothing like, I don't know. I think people are maybe a little odd about spoilers. I feel if you see some of the art, you could consider that spoilers. There's nothing major here. The biggest thing is there is a story arc that's 3 sessions long where you essentially interact with like Jabba the Hutt and like a crony of his or something like that. It's very short. Like that's why it's kind of weird to call it like a story arc. It's like 3 cards. So it seems a little light to me compared to the games I'm used to, right? Which could be different than other people. But again, having played stuff like Aeon Trespass Odyssey, dabbling in Kingdom Death and Monster, having Oathsworn, Shield, all these like big story-driven, you know, deep immersive arena, the contest, and then Daenerys coming up and stuff like that. This is light. Okay. So it's stuff like, hey, you know, some people come and get you, but, you know, then, what do? One of the things, I'm not going to click on these because I don't want to fuss anybody over spoilers and I don't want to have people skip or whatever. I will link to this in the description below along with everything. Feel free to look at that and note how many differences there actually are. For instance, you might have a situation where you can attack or run away, and both of them end the exact same way. The difference is one of them got you hurt and one of them didn't. Or, you know, maybe you decline or don't or accept an offer, but it all ends in the same result technically at the very end. So like there's oddities around that where it'll be different, but it won't be different story-wise. Story-wise, it seems fairly actually quite linear to me, again, compared to the things I'm used to. One of the cool things it does though is it's attached to mechanics. Think of it kind of like Cthulhu Death May Die or components and stuff where, you know, you pick out the monster and that comes with its own people and its own stuff, but then attach that per quest and then dumb it down to something more manageable per quest. So you might come across something and it says introduce this, change the map here, place this here, and after your event card, it's not just like, I had to fight something. It's, I'm now at this state with this trait, with this value on me, and we introduce this new thing that's now in here that everybody has to deal with. So it does change the game state kind of cool. So it's this very like narrative path thing, which I think is novel for sure. The best in its storytelling, anyway, but it definitely looks kind of neat there. It's like a Fallout the board game by Fantasy Flight Games, but then put on steroids, and actually good probably, as opposed to the trash tier game that was without the fix that you had to buy through an expansion, because it's Fantasy Flight Games and that's what they do. So anyway, going into this though, it is very pretty, first of all. I do like that as well. I wish they could increase the contrast or brightness of that. Like, I can't see what I'm looking at here. I can see what I'm looking at there. Like, I have no idea. It's in some kind of mech thing. Is that a person in there? Like, are they... I don't know. It's too small. So hopefully they can improve that a little bit. But anyway, it's cool. So, I mean, I don't know. The one of the problems is it's 6 minis plus cards, plus art and stuff like that, and of course the development and all that. But they want $130 for the base, which is decent these days, of course, right? And the all-in is only $180, which is quite nice as well. But then there's an all-in plus, which is kind of funny anytime they say like all-in, but wait, there's more. The all-in wasn't quite for the foreteller. You can throw in foreteller in there as well, which would be kind of nice. You'd be interacting with it a lot because there's just like a little bit of story, and then you go to the next one, a little bit of story, and then you go to the, I mean, so it's not like a Madara thing where it's reading 30 minutes of something to you, right? This is just a little blurb, and then you do something, and then based off what you do, you might or might not get another story blurb. Often it's repeated. It's the same thing with, you were hurt instead of, not hurt or something like that. The dice system's kind of interesting as well. So you roll them in this tower, and where they land as well as the value matters. So it's kind of a combination between the value and where it is on there, which is, I think that's a neat idea. I dig that. Now, how that necessarily plays, I didn't read the rule book or anything like that. I can barely read the rule books of the games I own, but that's still pretty neat. I dig that. Then they do have a high level how to play. Now, when I say high level, I mean, Having read this top to bottom now, I believe twice. Oh, was that the Gloomhaven thing? Yeah, right here. This narrative and the storytelling in this game so eclipses Gloomhaven. Good, it means it's actually there and it's not trash. That's awesome. It's a weird way to say this game's story isn't trash, but, people word things however they wish. Probably for intentional purposes. The gameplay. Okay, so the gameplay, again, the Kickstarter page, I think, is holding this game back. So I've looked at this. I've followed the links. I've done all this stuff, right? I could play a video. I have not. I haven't played any of the videos here. And that's because I wanted to see what the game is. I'm guessing it's competitive, but I don't know. They don't say, look, in this co-op or in this competitive game. I'm assuming because it says you can get infamy and then people can target you. I'm assuming that means competitive, but that's me assuming because it doesn't tell you. I also don't know how you win. I also don't know how you use resources. It mentions getting resources, but then how those are used, I don't know. So I have no idea if this game is competitive or co-op. I have no idea how to even win the game. And I don't know what the resources that are used for that, like, I guess you hold in your tray here. Like, I don't know what those are for. I don't know when you would use those or how or what or why or when. Which is unfortunate. I spent a lot of time reading all this stuff, and I didn't get it. Now, maybe I missed it. If so, let me know in the comments below. Though, note, if you were not watching this when I launched it, they may have added it. I hope they do, honestly. I really hope they do. So this is me pointing that out that, hey, guys, unless I click play on some video, either here, perhaps, which isn't super intuitive, that's the only place you can see it, or in an external third-party video, that I don't know how to play it. They do have the rule book, they do have Let's Plays and stuff like that, so I'm sure I could if I really dug into it. But ideally, I know if it's competitive or co-op without really digging into something. So I think the campaign page could help a lot. Price seems good, art seems great, idea seems nice. I'm actually on board with it, minus the over fluffiness and over kind of almost pompous pedestal holding of the story. It seems neat and fairly cheap. So I think neat plus cheap equals, that's not a bad back. So by all means, take a look at it, see what you want. Make sure you have a big table. Moving on, we have Magical Friends and How to Summon Them. The relaunches at 9,000 out of 24,000. Never mind, it's at 10,000 out of 24,000. Again, this is like fresh stuff here. So hopefully this helps you out here. 145 backers. This was before at 20,000, 4,000 less than the goal. And they had 400 backers when they canceled it. They did cancel it fairly late. They let it run for a long time, which I think I really enjoy. I think that's great. But this one seems to have come in almost out of the blue a little bit. I didn't know it was coming back again today, which is unfortunate because I was one of the people on YouTube covering it and saying it looked kind of neat. But I guess I don't know how much community outreach they actually do. Perhaps not too much. Because you would think you would at least search your game on YouTube and see what people are saying, but whatever, maybe not, or maybe they don't like me or something. But I would have, or maybe they did contact me and I didn't read my email and I'm just an idiot. That could be a case too. Because otherwise I would have told you guys this was coming up, but it is up. I'm telling you now. It's definitely up. I thought this game looked pretty darn neat. It's okay. Price wise, they changed things a little bit. So this is pretty much the same. For $50, you get the pledge. And then right here, you'll see that for about $50, you get the pledge. But then the Midsummer Feast winner is a little bit different. It was a 65 there, and here it is an 80 jump. They added the acrylic standees and gingerbread, but took out the art book. So this is definitely more expensive, and I don't know exactly why. I mean, I guess the acrylic standees probably are more expensive than the art book. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting change here. They did have a little GIF of the acrylic standees. Essentially, you get the standee and then a little heart that goes over it, and it's either best friend or like worst friend. And then you can kind of flip it. So with the sliding over, that's a nice component upgrade, just because you're interacting with them. So there they are right there. But yeah, it just slides in, and then or you can flip it and slide in the other way. So you're kind of constantly doing that. And if it's cardboard, I can see that roughing up a little bit. So a worthwhile thing. But then you can pay even more, $85 for the art book. Which I don't know, it's getting a little expensive at that point. I would actually probably go in on this on the lower end, but I certainly wouldn't say don't. I think it looks like a pretty neat little game. Next up, we have Elric, Rise of the Young Kingdoms. This is again a relaunch. And again, this one is kind of slow going, but doing okay. It's a 14,000, almost 15,000 of 29,000 of a goal. This was the old version here. I'll talk about that in a moment. 24,000 out of 39,000 was 215 back. So like, I don't know when this canceled before. I wasn't following it, like the Magical Kingdoms was. But if this was like what they got the entirety, then they're already doing probably a better start than they did before, I would think, but perhaps not. But with this, the 29,000 goal, and here was the 39,000 goal. So there was a drop in the goal, but that's for, I think, a reason too. That being said, it's kind of awkward because they ended up, taking things out, but then also leaving pictures in. So like here you see this picture right here, but this guy is not in the game right now. And they did it because back here when they showed it, they also showed him off quite often in like the in the pictures and stuff. Like, see, he's like right there, okay? And so he's right here. They changed it to red. The renders look better. It definitely looks prettier. But yeah, there's two campaigns. I'll talk about that in a moment here. But then you won't see him actually like, okay, that's exclusive goals, and it's showing this, right? But if you look at like the goals, it's locked behind structural number 5. So it looks like you already get this when you don't. They're even showing it. They're not showing a lock thing or anything like that. But it's actually a stretch goal down here at 80,000 is when you'll get not a standee, but that dragon guy. The awkward thing was he was there day one here, and the price is actually lower here than there. So the price is more here. This states because it's a more complete package. One of the things they did, well, really the only thing I can tell that they did was they took out him and one other person, kind of Elric, the main guy, I believe, and then added, I think, this one and I think one other pair of two heroes. But that's it. So it seems like you're pretty much, in my opinion, getting charging more, and then also kind of being awkward around the stretch goals where you're showing them as if you're getting them when they're not unlocked yet. They're also doing a twin campaign here where this is Ulule, whatever this is. I don't know. They're filling up an egg here. There's a 10,000 goal in here. That's that 10,000 they took out. This is for the French version for people in France. They said they did this because this is the most popular. Let's read what they wrote. And if any of you are from France, please let me know your thoughts on this. I have never heard of this, but I'm a filthy American. Let's see. Why is there a different offer? Okay, no, we can read that. That's fine. I already told you about that. Why are there two different and Yulu? So it says here that Yulu is the most famous crowdfunding platform in France. Is it more famous than Kickstarter? You let me know, French people. Are you used to seeing this more, and are more French people on this than they are on the other one? I know the French love their language a whole lot, and I know they like things being in their language. And that's for a variety of reasons I'm not going to get into on this one. Is it because of that, perhaps? Because everything's kind of written in there? Yulu itself is, and if you click on here, this is all English. So at least it knows that, once it loads, that I'm in England here. But you do see quite a few French people like using stuff. It's probably based in French, perhaps, but it doesn't look like it's probably even exclusive to that. At least not that I can tell from a quick glance. Anyway, let me know. That's kind of odd. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Taking things out of the game and then charging more for them isn't, I think, a great way to gain more when it comes to the funding level. So, and as you can see right here, there's 2,000, right? So it's actually way farther off than the Kickstarter one for being the most popular thing in France, at least. Kind of unfortunate. Next up, we have Rivet Wars Reloaded. This is by SFG. They're at 121,000 out of 57, 122,000, 125,000. Man, I feel like an auctioneer. That's crazy. All right, that's fun. 125,000 out of 57,000. So already funded, already doing fairly well. Again, 576. This just launched. It's a short campaign, only 9 days to go. So keep that in mind. I'll keep you guys updated. I still have a news video about more news stuff at the end of the week, but this is just to kind of get you up to date here. There is a new faction called the Nomians. I spoke to the guys at SFG about this, and it looked like a quite fun game. I was hoping to get a gameplay session in, but either they didn't offer it, or again, I didn't read the email. That's that's certainly a thing. But that's what they were saying they were doing. And they don't have copies of this early. They're just doing the kind of the online get a play session. That's what I did with Bard Sung, for instance, stuff like that. It looks like Advanced Wars though, so it instantly got me like, ooh, I did love Advanced Wars and the old front missions, and really any game that was like that. Even on like the NES had one. Or was it? Yeah, I believe it was the NES even that had one, like, it was kind of a grid system. Maybe you guys remember what it was. I can't remember the name of it. It was that same kind of grid-based system where you moved and attacked, and it was very much like a Fire Emblem, which, again, also like. I love that style of game. So that kind of has me excited. It looks very kid, family-friendly, which is nice. Not all skirmish games have that. And there's some neat things, too, and some niceties to streamline things just to, again, make it there. But then also unique stuff. So let's talk about all of that. So it's going to show it like this, which is super fancy, but I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to where we can actually kind of see the map tiles here. So you have these map tiles, right, where you're kind of coming in there. But one of the cool things is that, and one of the new features is you can add map tiles to the game. So you can kind of progress through where it's like maybe one side's trying to defend and the other side's pushing through, and you kind of expand it, which is neat. I dig that. The other nice thing is you're constantly spawning in new units. So it's very much, it's not like you can get necessarily overwhelmed by the looks of it, where somebody just gets stomped and they don't have any units hardly, and the other person has like their whole army and just, is what it looks like to me. They have different objective markers that you can kind of go for. One of the other neat things is this here. So you can essentially, during the game, upgrade your units while they're on the board. So it might start out as a crawler that then gets a turret that then gets a general in it, and it'll have different stats based off that. So you can kind of customize it. So it's not just you have these walkers, it's you have these walkers with the added gun or with the general piloting it, and that'll be kind of different. So yeah, I mean, it looks pretty neat. I actually dig a lot of this kind of stuff. I think it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like fast combat, which is nice. I really like the really fast kind of dice rolling there. Definitely a unique theme. Again, this is a remake from Come On. But they updated quite a bit of things as well. And there's the small tiles and stuff too. The stat cards, they improved how the cards look and everything. They do have a veteran pledge. $140 gets you everything new here, including the new faction. And then, of course, upgraded components and stuff like that also. So, but they redid the minis and made them a little bit nicer for sure. They definitely upgraded them to modern day standards, which is nice. And there's a ton here, as you can see. There's like a lot. It does seem fairly pricey to me for the style of minis. What I mean by that is when you're manufacturing a mini, usually the actually more expensive part isn't the plastic's pretty cheap that you fill it into. It's the machining of the steel molds that costs a lot, and assembly. Both of those increase at the same time when you increase how many parts you're using. So when you get these kind of more single cast or maybe one or two pieces, these are the cheapest minis you can make. That doesn't mean they don't look good. That doesn't mean the details in there, but it definitely costs less to make something like this than even a typical, like fantasy miniature at this point from any normal kind of, company offering a dungeon crawl or something like that, unless they're single cast as well, right? Which a lot of them are, but it is kind of odd. They definitely have some advanced pieces where they're separate pieces. That's definitely a thing. They have multi-piece stuff, but a lot of their guys are just these single cast things. So I don't think it'd be that expensive, but like right here, for instance, the Neomin expansion, they're saying it's $135 of an upgrade of an expansion. So that's a fair amount of money for a single faction. This isn't a board game. This is a single faction for $135. So that seems expensive. These are pretty big though. I saw them. They looked pretty, I didn't measure them or anything like that, but they looked pretty nice. I don't think they're really saying how big these are. And like, they're cool and they have really good detail and all that kind of stuff. But like, this guy is not that expensive to make. So it's kind of odd there. And it comes with some stuff there. It feels to me like it's very skirmish, and they have the cards to kind of go with it and, whatnot. So I don't know. It just seems a smidge too high. The airplanes, by the way, are really cool. I love these. A smidge too expensive to me. That, and I'm hoping that stretch goals add some stuff. For instance, they don't have any aircraft like the other two expansions. So it's like, that'd be kind of a bummer if you add a new expansion, but it's not in line with the other guys just yet. But there's a ton of stuff here. They're doing daily reveals. And they do, the 3D terrain does look pretty neat, but again, it accentuates the game. It doesn't make it fully 3D. So just keep that in mind as well. That being said, they have the all-in from day one $449. So again, very pricey, but you are getting quite a bit of game there. Like that's quite a lot. And then if you just want the gameplay all in, that is $400. So there's not too much of a difference. It's like 49 bucks different, which is why I think most people, if they're going to go for one, go for that one over this one, just because for 50 bucks and you get kind of the rest of the doodads. But the core pledge will get you the two main factions, just not the Neo-Main expansion, and that is 151. That's actually a decent deal. I like that. It just gets really expensive once you start adding more and more stuff. I'm saying it's not even worth it. It looks like a really neat game, looks fast-paced, looks like the kids would enjoy it. I really dig all that. And it looks very varied and you know, stuff like that where, you know, you're spawning more people in and modifying them. And I like the game, like how it looks. I definitely want to play it. I'll definitely be getting the core. I don't know if I'll be going all in though. It's a high price for a game I've not played yet, if that makes sense. If I'd played it, that would have been nice, but I have not yet, so we'll see. Next up, we have USC Reach, 6,000 out of 22,000. Again, just launched, still 28 days to go, so still plenty of time to grow. This is a interesting one. So in this one, it's very basic, and you have two things here. You have the standard edition at 46, then you have the Galactic edition at 61. It has metal minis, which is nice, and the like holographic cards for some of the cards. But that's really it. There's also a Android ship and crew pack, so there's a little bit more in there, but it's not a whole lot. But it's also only $61, so that is cheap, which is nice to see. So how do you play this? Essentially, you are trying to you start here, and then you go up there. And so each of the locations has like a speed rating. So you have to kind of get a certain speed to get there, and you won't be able to get that speed rating because your crew's like a whole bunch of misfit, crappy like civilians or something. So they can't really do much. But you can assign them to like they have different colors, like different parts of the ship to get different speed values, depending on how good they are and stuff like that. And you can also get missions, but you draw missions, or you choose your missions. So you have a list of missions there based off of who's fastest. So you're wanting to go fastest, and you're doing that behind the screen. So you're kind of assigning your people, and then you reveal, and then you start picking missions and then going about your day, and you're trying to get to the end, essentially. Now, your people can get upgraded and become better the more experienced they are, and they do that by going on these missions. So you might not be able to even get to the second tile right away, but you can go on a few missions, and then you're like, okay, I want to try and get to the second tile. So then you're trying to do that, but somebody else might be doing the same thing. That's where kind of the interplay comes in, as far as I can tell there. You can also take your pilots and essentially flip them over and try to reassign them to a different, like, hey, I know you're normally in engineering, but let's see how you do in, helming or something like that. And they're not as good, but they could still potentially help out there. So that's kind of what you're doing there. That's about it. I mean, that's the gist of it anyway. It seems like a pretty neat little game. I actually dig it. And the price seems kind of right in line with what you would think. $45 for the game. That doesn't shock me at all. It doesn't seem like it's a bad deal or anything like that. It's not the biggest game ever. I'm glad it's not. It doesn't need to be. Not every game needs to take your entire table and be so huge that you can't store it anywhere, so you put it on the floor and never play it anyway because you don't play all your Kickstarter games. Next up, we have Paititi, The Lost World. This is a resin miniature. This is the last one I'm going to end on, so we're almost done here. It has already funded. It has some very, very cool, unique-looking minis, including dinos like the Quetzalcoatl here, or whatever the heck that thing is. I'm not gonna try to pronounce her. This lady here, she looks cool, of course. We have the Triceratops, whatever. We have this guy, he looks awesome. So their price, by the way, is fairly pricey because it's these big, giant, fancy resin minis, and they are big. I'll show you a picture real quick. But one collector miniature of the 75 is about $50. That's about mid-range, maybe even lower mid-range when it comes to resin minis. Sometimes 75mm costs you $90, sometimes $110, sometimes as cheap as, $40 maybe. So this actually seems on the lower end at $50, which is kind of nice for what you're getting. Or a Dino 157 because they're like big, thick, massive dudes. Like if you take a look here, look at that. I mean, that's a ton of plastic. And if it's that quality, that's great because I don't see any bubbles or anything like that, which means they're using expensive vacuum chambers, which doesn't come cheap, or they're very good at pouring in resin and scraping it out of the silicone, in which case, either way, it's labor intensive, it's expensive. It's why resin costs so much. No matter what you do, if you're getting quality, it's going to cost you, but it's really, really nice. That's it, guys. That's all I have. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you have anything I missed, go ahead and let me know in the description down below or in the comments down below. Description has all the links to you. Take care, guys. Bye.